What I want to talk about is the basics PPEs that you need when you're working at height. Okay, because I've just gone up on the tower there to air my ropes and the PPEs that I was wearing, of course. But it's important because I know a number of young people, of course, will also be getting into the industry, and they need to know these things because I mean, even the Bible clearly states that my people are suffering because they lack knowledge, and that's what I want to share freely with you today. Yeah, so what are the minimum PPEs that one requires when you're working at height? Okay, so I'll just start with what I have on top of on my head. I have a climbing helmet, and of course the right helmet we need when you're working at height is the climbing helmet with the EN 12492. Okay, so the EN 12492 helmet has been tested, has been certified that it's safe for you to work at height with, because the test has been done for it for top impacts, for side impacts in case you knock your head on the tower, and of course for back impacts. Okay, so there are different types of helmets. Of course, you'll find the EN 12492. You'll also find the EN 397. The EN 397 is a construction helmet. It's not recommended for work at height because most of them don't even have the chain strap. But we're working at height there, of course, it could be gusty winds, I don't know, all that. Your helmet needs to stay on your head at all times. So the recommended helmet for work at height is the EN 12492. Okay, going down, what I have next is the harness. Okay, so when you're working at height, of course, you need to be aware that in case anything happens, you're going to fall down. Okay, you're working pezulu, anything happens, you're going down pansy. Okay, so you need to keep yourself safe. Okay, so you need to connect yourself to systems that will keep you safe there. So how do you connect yourself to the systems that will keep you safe there? You need up there, of course. Now that's when the harness, the full body harness comes in. Okay, so the right harness for work at height safety, it needs to be having the EN standard, the EN 361. Okay, so the EN 361 means it has the dorsal D-ring and of course the sternum D-ring there. Okay, and that harness, of course, will also be rated to EN 358. So the EN 358, it has the side D-ring. The side D-rings, that's where you connect your work belt. Okay, so it needs to have the bare minimums of the EN 361 and the EN 358. Okay, but if some of you probably will be doing rope high level maneuvers, that maybe you'll also be working using the ropes. Okay, so for rope access, of course, when you're still working at height, your harness needs to be rated to the EN 813. Okay, so the EN 813, it will have this down, this D-ring down here where you connect your cowtails and all that. Okay, but of course, for our harness, if it's even more advanced, you should also be having the EN 1497. So for the EN 1497, you see it has these loops here where you can do rescue probably on a monopole and all that. Okay, so I've talked about the helmet, I've talked about the harness. Okay, and I've even told you the EN standards for this. Okay, the next thing you need to have is your primary fall arrest system. Your primary fall arrest system are the shock absorbers rated to EN 355. Okay, so in case anything happens, you know, you are going to fall down, you connected to the fall arrest. This becomes your primary fall arrest systems. Okay, you're connected there, you're going to fall down, so it will prevent you from falling down because you've anchored this probably up there, so you're not going to go down all the way. Okay, the shock absorber is right here. It will deploy, of course, and absorb the shock load with which you're going to fall down with. So I've talked about the shock absorbers, EN 355. Okay, so the next thing, of course, you need to have when you're working at height as your safety system, you also need to have the work belt. Okay, so the work belt EN 358, they enable you to be working hands free, so you become safe when you're working up there. I don't want to see any one of you working up there and then you're holding, you know, one hand is hugging the structure and you're working with one hand. It's unsafe for you to do that. So that's why you need to be having the EN 358 the work belt. Okay, now another thing that you need to be having, I've talked about the helmet, I've talked about the harness, I've talked about the shock absorbers, I've talked about the work belt. And I think that it's very important for us to be having is then the safety boots. Okay, the right safety boots for work at height needs to be rated to EN 345. Okay, the EN 345, again, there are also a number of variations for the EN 345. You'll find the EN 345 SB, that is for basic safety. You'll find EN345, SP, S1P. You'll find SRA. Okay, but what I'll recommend is you need to be having the S1P, which has been rated, the EN345 S1P, rated for penetration testing as well. Nothing can penetrate the boots. SRA, it has the slip resistance component on it as well. And of course, being cognizant that we shall be working at height, you might maybe probably at condition might force you to jump down. The shock with which you jump down needs to be absorbed, and that's why you can see my safety boots has the shock absorbing component as well. So the exact safety boot that I'm having is the EN345 S1P and the SRA. Okay, so it is been it's safe. Of course, they've done the penetration testing on it as well, together with the slip resistance. Okay, and then another thing that is also very important, you need to be having the gloves. Okay, EN388. You can see on my gloves here there is a cut on it. So if in that day, because I'm the one who's been using it, if on that day I wasn't wearing the gloves, therefore this cut would have been on my hand. So it is safe for us to be having the helmet, the gloves as well, rated to EN388. And of course you also have the very many variations for that EN388. The one that you need is what will protect you from all those mechanical impacts as well, because you'll be holding the tower members. Some of them will be having sharp edges as well, so it's safe for you to be having the gloves as well. Okay, another thing, of course, that I've already talked about the basics of what you need to be having as your PPEs. For me, most of the time you'll find me having my polarized sunglasses. Of course, these are not just for aesthetics, okay, because sometimes you're on the tower up there and it's too sunny, the light is too much, okay, and probably it's too windy, and the wind probably comes with a lot of dust in it. So just to protect my eyes, to feel safe and comfortable up there, for me I'll be having the polarized sunglasses. But don't go and pressure your company that they need to buy for you the sunglasses as well. So that's it, basically for the PPEs. I've talked about them. I've talked about the helmet EN12492, the harness EN361, EN358, EN813, and of course some of them that are advanced for monopole rescue will be having the EN1497. Okay, and I've talked about the shock absorbers EN355. I've talked about the work belt EN358. I've talked about the safety shoes EN345, S1P, and SRA, and of course the gloves EN388. That's all. Wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year 2026. See you when you come to train with us, and of course I hope you'll be safe wherever you'll be working at heights.